Angel.
How are you?
Okay, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You, you seem like you have low energy.
I have to be very still with her. Like,
Oh,
she wants to be on top of daddy. So
oh, so cute.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
My name's Neelu Kaur, and I am an author, facilitator, and executive coach. And I'm based in New York City, and I also teach yoga, and that's where I met Angel
yep,
at Living
that's
Yoga.
do you consider yourself one more than the other?
Yeah, I would say I'm a facilitator before anything else. So I thrive in groups and facilitating conversations and dialogues. And I do teach yoga. And yoga for me has always been about for myself and to manage my mental health and well-being. And when I teach, it's my way of giving back to the community because I'm not a full-time yoga teacher. I teach one class at Living Yoga and then I'll sub when I can, but I have a daily practice at home for myself. And when I teach, it's really about giving back to Forest Hills, Kew Gardens, because this is the neighborhood that I love and been a part of for so long.
You're comfortable in those like group settings. You don't get nervous. You don't get anxious or anything like that. Like,
It's like good energy, I feel like very, very excited, motivated, and it's like if there's a little bit of nervous energy, it's actually good. Like I use it, I leverage it in a way that I can be of service to the group. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, it does. It does. I mean, they say if you don't have some form of fear or whatever, you're dead, right? It's something like that.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. I used to teach, and I still do. It's called present with confidence in many organizations. And one thing I say is, if you feel nervous, it's actually a good thing because if you don't feel nervous, it means you don't care. So you want to have some nervous energy. You want to be able to channel that nervous energy in groups.
That's why I teach Zumba. It's one of the reasons because I'm terrified. It's like a form of therapy for me, you know,
Terrified of what?
being in front of a lot of people,
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually really shy. It may appear not that way, but I'm 46 years old, so I've had a long time to work on that facade,
Hmm.
to work on that mask as we like to call them, Um, but yeah, I get before I go to class, I spend a lot of time in the bathroom,
Really?
from anxiety and nervousness and you know, a lot of the times I go to teach and
Hmm.
I feel like I have to pee, I have to poop, I feel like I'm gonna puke. I get so anxious, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. So last week, I think it was last week when you were in class, and there was a woman that came out after class and said, "Gosh, that guy, he's so friendly. He talks to everyone. He makes everyone feel so comfortable." And she was referring to you.
oh,
So I don't know if you have that, if you're aware of the presence, like the way you impact others around you. She was very happy to be near you and thought you were just welcoming and warm. So I'm not sure you've heard that before. If you have, maybe take that in and really let that compliment, take it in.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen you do that on some of your TikTok videos as well. And so I really appreciate that about you. Most of us are so concerned about how we appear to people. And I feel like you're just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna make you laugh. And I'm just gonna make you laugh and enjoy the moment. And I think that's so precious because most of us are so concerned about how we appear.
well, you've been kind of getting a little looser on there, right? We could say, because
Well,
even I'm
that's the
looking at you
only
now, you
place.
look so proper. You look so
No,
proper.
no, the thing is that's the only platform I feel like I can play. Everywhere else it's very professional. It's very much work, related to work and my book and all of this stuff, but I think on TikTok you can just play a little bit more. In fact, if you're too professional, people don't want that on TikTok, I feel. I don't know if you agree with that.
I think there's a space for everyone. I've seen the very professional ones and the crazy wild ones, and I mean, I feel like there's a spot for. It's like there are sub ecosystems within there for everything. Some that we can't even probably fathom right now,
Yes,
that we don't
it's
even
true.
know. You
It's
know?
true. It's algorithm based, right? So
Mm.
I love watching makeup tutorials. I love watching dance videos. So I will get all of that, right? But I think if you watch so if you watch maybe more professional videos, you would probably get more of those. I just happen not to get those because I'm always looking at dance videos and they make me happy and joyous. And so I look at a lot of dance and makeup videos on TikTok.
Those are fun. I like the dance ones, and sometimes I even try to do the dances
I
myself.
do too. I do too. And in fact, I read somewhere that when you practice the TikTok dancing, even though you're not going to be perfect, even if you're not recording them, it just works a different part of your brain and it allows you to learn something new. So for those of you out there that are wondering if you can do the TikTok dance, just do it. You don't even have to record yourself.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
just record yourself. No,
Yeah,
at the end,
exactly.
no, and you gotta with TikTok, I feel like you can't get mad. Like I had this guy, I just posted a clip today, and one of them was that bold glamour filter that makes you look really
Yes.
hot.
Oh, yes, yes,
You
yes.
know,
I saw that. I saw
A-
yours. I saw yours.
well, and then there's the other one, right? The other filter which makes you
Yes.
look not so hot. So
Yeah.
this dude comments, "Bro, you don't look good in either of them." Right?
Oh
Right?
no.
And I respond with, "Well, I think I look better in the second one,"
Yeah,
which is
which
which is the
yeah,
not appealing one because
right.
you got to understand that a lot of them are usually just ghosts and they're just trying to hurt people's
Yes,
feelings,
yeah,
right?
of course, of course.
This guy actually had an account. I looked him up and I looked up his
Mm,
account. I go to confirm whether or not I'm going to engage. If it's a real person, I'll engage and I'll just joke with them and play with them or whatever. If it's a ghost that has nothing, then I just will say something like facts but you can't get mad. And if you put stuff, people are going to come at you,
right,
you know,
right.
especially, I'm not in the best shape. I'm putting pictures of myself without a shirt. I'm inviting trouble.
But I appreciate that. That's the other thing, just very body positive wherever you are at whatever stage. And you've talked very
Oh, I'm
openly
not.
about
I'm not very body positive. I am disgusted by it. I have a
really.
really, really hard time with it. And I do it same reason I teach Zumba to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am humiliated, to be completely honest. Like it's
Hmm.
embarrassing to me. But I say to myself, I'm terrified of doing this, so I should do it.
That's amazing because I've seen some of your, especially your, the one where you were saying a message, but you were dancing around without
Yeah.
your shirt on. That made me laugh so hard. And I really appreciated you posting that because it literally was the thing that made me laugh the hardest that day. So
Oh,
I
good.
appreciate it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
It took a lot for me to post that. It's
And then now
horrible.
I've noticed
Yeah.
that your son is in some of those, and I didn't know you had a son. So then I've been watching some of the videos with your son, and I'm like, your jovial, jokey nature is passing on to him because he's very funny too.
A little more reserved than I am with posting things. Like we'll do some funny stuff, but he'll no, you can't post that, pops. Like, don't, he cares a little bit more about his rep, and I get it. I get it. Tell me about your book.
All right. Yeah, so
Um,
my book is right there, Be Your Own Cheerleader, and it is for Asian and South Asian women to be self-advocates in the workplace. So it's almost like a how-to from a spiritual, psychological, and cultural lens on speaking up for yourself. Because in Asian and Indian cultures, it's something that we are taught to not do. We're taught to just it's very group-oriented. It's a very we-based culture. And North America and the US and Canada is very I-based. So what happens is when you come from a we-based culture or your parents come from a we-based culture, you're taught to just keep your head down, to just work really hard. It's all about group harmony. And then when you come from an I-based, it's all about yourself, your accomplishments, your credentials. And so it's a big clash for a lot of Asians and a lot of South Asians when they come into corporate America. They have no idea that even if they're in a team, they still have to speak up and share their own individual accomplishments, or they won't get promoted, they won't get raises, and all of those things that we all know if we've ever worked in corporate America.
Everybody's doing the I, and you're thinking the we. You're gonna get left behind.
Exactly. Exactly. Like when my parents moved from India, they would actually not let us say, these are my toys. We had to say, these are our toys. So everything is about sharing, group harmony. And then when you are taught to do that, and then you come into, you go to school and things are different. And then you go to corporate America and it's very different. So my book is really sort of a how-to, a recipe for those of us that come from we cultures to thrive in the I-based world that we live in, if you live in North America and certain European countries as well, but North America is definitely very I-based.
We often talk about like sacrifice and, self-sacrifice and going above and beyond and all that. But at the end of the day, it kind of feels like everybody just looks out for themselves. It's a weird balance to find. So is your book geared towards somebody that's coming to the US, or primarily just somebody who may be here and their parents have influenced them, or
Both. It could be both, right? So you could be like me, where I was born in India and raised in the US. I came here when I was 2, but when you're raised by parents that are from a we-based culture, that's what you learn at home. And then you step outside of your door and you go into school, and it's not that way. Like in school, your teachers will say, hey, Angel, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you probably think, oh, I have options. I can be a fireman. I can be a writer. I can be an artist. But in Asian cultures and South Asian cultures, your parents never ask you what you want to be when you grow up. It's an assumption that you're going to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, right? Like there's certain boxes that you have to tick because it's all about appearance and looking good. And so, your parents want to brag about you. So they want to make sure their children go to these great schools and do these great things. So there's not much of a choice in a lot of these matters. And so what happens is when you're raised in that culture or by parents from that culture, you just don't know how to speak up and share, like, hey, you know what, Mom, I don't want to be a fireman. I want to be whatever you grew up to be, right? Or not a fireman. That probably wouldn't go over very well in Asian and South Asian culture. If you came home and told your parents you wanted to be a fireman, they would be like, no, you really want to be an engineer.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You're a doctor.
Yes, you're going to be a doctor.
You mean a doctor when people feel fire in their hands, you help them, right? Like
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about you. Like so you're from Puerto Rico, or your parents are from Puerto Rico?
I was born in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
I came here when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So I've pretty much grown up here. I grew up in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we would consider the hood, and that's where I come from. So,
certain Latin cultures are also we-based, and I believe because there's actually a website people can go to. It's called Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions, and you can do a country comparison. And I believe the Dominican is also very we-based, if I remember correctly. Usually Latin cultures are a lot more also tribal, communal, very sharing, group-oriented. One of the big differentiators is in Asian, South Asian, and in certain Latin cultures, it's, you live with your extended family. Whereas in North America, it's the nuclear family, right? And so there's all these little differences, but it does impact the way we see the world.
I don't know that we based, or maybe I don't understand the concept well enough to make that determination. I think everyone was just striving to do their best on their own. I always wanted to make my mom proud. I wanted to, like I said, I grew up in the Bronx, so I experienced a lot of violence and attacks and assaults and robberies, and like I wanted to get out. That was my primary objective, to get out and be able to help my family. And I don't know if that counts as a we, but I try to take care of my family as best I could. As a culture in general, I don't know. I don't think so. The things that you're saying that your families would do and stuff wouldn't really apply to us.
Really? So like, for example, we cultures are very collective, right? So decisions are made in a group. It's like the group, your family, the way you appear to other families is very important. You don't want to cause shame. Shame is used as a source of discipline. So you want to make sure you don't stick out in any way. And in Latin cultures, at least from what I've read and experienced, it's also very much about the group harmony. Everything's like in the family, extended family lives in the home. Decisions
we don't
are
do
made.
none of that.
No? Okay.
but admittedly, I have been here since I was 5 years old.
Right. So and were your parents born and raised in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them were.
Interesting. So Puerto Rico is part of the US, yes?
Yeah, we have a heavy influence.
Yeah. So maybe there's other Latin cultures that, like in South America, that are definitely more group oriented. Maybe the not the DR, Puerto Rico is not, because of the fact that it's technically part of the US. I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah, we've been invaded and,
Yeah, that's actually, and yes, multiple influences. So maybe it's not a purely like Latin influence either.
But
I
I
go
can
now.
see what you're saying with like I would think like I've seen that scenario with Mexican families, Peruvian families, they're
Yes,
more tight knit.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and but I mean I guess for all intents and purposes we're Americanized. You know,
Yes.
my family's I don't I didn't even meet I don't I met a grandma when I was maybe 3 years old, a
Okay.
great grandma when I was like 2 or 3. I have a recollection of her toe. That's all I remember, seeing a toe on a woman. I have no recollection of her, you know? When we came to the US,
Yeah.
I never kept in touch with any aunts. I never kept in touch with uncles. I don't know anything about them, you know. And then when I'm like 10, 12 years old, an uncle shows up to visit. I was, huh? You know,
Oh,
so
I got you. Okay, so yeah, maybe because of the different and the American influence, maybe there it's not as tight knit as certain South American countries or cultures.
yeah, it's a bummer because I would have loved to meet my grandparents. I would love to know them, see what they look like. You know,
Hmm.
what how did they influence my parents' appearance? That was actually kind of something I asked. You know, I said, well, why didn't I? You know, why didn't you guys? You know, they're like, well, we just came and survive.
Mm.
Just trying to survive and just live, and time passes, and you know, now I got
And
older.
that what
You know,
happens. And I think that's what happens with a lot of immigrants. It becomes more about just survival and you can't keep those ties, I guess, those family ties as well, because you're just all about putting food on the table for your families and your kids.
yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate. I have no idea, with the exception of that well my mom's mom and my mom's grandma, I saw pictures of them.
Hmm.
Apparently I met them, but I don't, you know, zero recollection. You know, that's kind of saddening, you know. I never I think I saw a picture of my dad's mom, and but I don't have any idea of his dad or my mom's dad. Like, you know, it's just kind of messed up.
Hmm.
you know, you know,
Well, I
and
think that that maybe answers our question. Maybe there's more of like it's part of the US and maybe there's more of that I-based American North America culture there as well.
mm,
And there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like there's benefits, there's positives and negatives to everything, but and I wouldn't even say negatives. It's just it's just different. There's good and bad that comes with the both, right?
so you developed that eye, and that's what you're teaching in the book.
Yes, like because we have to dance between the two, especially at work, right? So for me, I work for myself. I'm a solopreneur. So if I'm doing like group or team coaching, I have to say, okay, I need to turn up the we. And I usually use the analogy of a speedometer in a car. Like there's the we side and there's the I side. So if I'm in a group setting and I'm coaching a group and I'm part and I'm working with them regularly, then I'm going to use more words like our shared outcome, our deliverables, right? Like it's very we based. And if I'm on a business development or a sales call, I have to talk about myself, my credentials, my accomplishments, and then I have to sort of go towards the I side, which for me always feels viscerally uncomfortable because I'm much more comfortable living in the we.
Is that
So if you had to guess where you feel more comfortable, you would say more I.
probably even in school when we had to do projects, right? I felt like I was doing all the heavy lifting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I
And would you
like,
let people know, like, hey, actually, I did that, and you felt comfortable
oh hell
saying,
yeah,
that's
you know,
amazing
you
because
know,
what happens a lot with Asians and South Asians is their ideas get stolen or they other people take credit for it and they don't say, actually, no, you know what? I actually did that part of
no,
the
unless I liked the person and I didn't want to get them a failing grade,
yes.
you know, then I would kind of just look at them and, you know, like give them the, you know, little side eye action, you know, like, you know what's up, you know, but
Yes.
I don't want to hurt them, you know,
Right,
but
right.
I do recall somebody who didn't help, and I was like, oh, this guy didn't do a damn thing. I did his part, you know, and everybody's like, what the hell is this guy saying? He's like,
Yeah.
Angel, is that necessary? He's like, what do you mean? I did his part. He didn't do anything. So he's you owe your degree to me, buddy. You know, and I was just, you know, because why am I doing your work? If I didn't do his work, we all fail,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
nobody else was picking it up, right? Because it's a group project. So I took it on and I did it, right?
Okay, so
Uh,
let's fast forward like 10, 15, 20 years and then you're at work, right? Like you're in a corporate setting, you're in your job as a tech guy. And do you still do that? Would you still share, would you still like be very, would you very
The
much?
same applies. Unless I like you and I'm not trying to screw you, I'll give you a chance.
Mhm.
Yo, you gotta, I took care of this, but I need you to step up, you
Right,
know.
right.
If you don't, you know, then we're gonna have to balance the scales. I work with this one dude that used to come in late all the time,
Mhm.
2, 3
Mhm.
hours late. And it was
Mhm.
just me and him. I managed the team, right?
Mhm.
So he used to come in about 2, 3 hours late. He was partying, younger guy. So I would let him slide on that. But as soon as he walked in, from
Mhm.
this point forward, you're doing all the work. And that is how we balance the scales.
Good for you.
I didn't want to snitch on him because I
Yeah,
liked the guy. He was a good guy. He was a good worker. He had a problem getting in on time, and not by 15 minutes, by several hours.
right.
So the understanding was, as soon as you get in, the rest of the day is yours. If I'm needed at some escalation, I'm around. But every piece of work that comes in is yours. Now, I don't
That's
know if I'll
amazing.
post that.
No, that's a no, no, I was gonna say you're
Yeah,
probably throwing him under
yeah,
the bus.
yeah.
But the thing is, that's amazing, right? And a lot of the people I coach, a lot of people, a lot of women I work with, they struggle with that. And I struggle with that. It's like I would probably be in that instance. If I was in that instance, I would probably keep letting it go and then the resentment would build.
But
And it would simply be a fear of self-advocating. I mean, now as the author of this book, I'm making a concerted effort not to be in that situation. But yeah, there's a lot of women I work with that would not feel comfortable saying, "Hey, you know what? I was here all day. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go take off now." Like that would be like I would have a bravo like moment of I would be so happy if some of the women I coach would be able to do that.
is it only women, or do you see this with men too?
I mean, so I focus with women, with Asian and South Asian women, but I work a lot with engineers and tech guys who are from every ethnicity and race. But I find that Asian and South Asian, those that identify as AAPI American, Asian American Pacific Islander, they usually struggle with any form of self-advocacy or speaking up. It's been my experience.
And that's because of the we.
Yes, because it's all about, just stay under the radar, just do your job. Your job, you're going to do a great job. You're really smart. You're going to do a great job and your work will speak for itself. And that is not how it works in corporate America
No,
because there
not
are
at all.
people who will steal your ideas, who will take credit for your work. And so you have to be able to say, wait a second, no, actually, I did that. And it sounds like you have a good sense of self-worth
Well, that
to be able to speak up.
well, that comes from all the abuse I absorbed when I was younger. It made me sometimes not rightfully so. Sometimes I might overreact, or react too quickly or whatever. But if I think somebody's taking advantage of me or trying to step on me or in any way abuse me, I become very firm in defending myself. You spoke of resentment. So if the resentment built, if you
Mm-hmm.
didn't say anything and you just was,
Mm-hmm.
the person showing up, and what happens then? Once do you
Oh,
blow
you
up
keep
someday, or you?
Oh, well, yeah, or yeah, you blow up or you get fired. I've gotten fired so many times, which probably it's probably the main reason why I decided when I got my last downsizing was in 2013. And at that point I was like, okay, I really suck at this. I suck at self-advocacy. I need to just figure this out. And yeah, it's been a journey,
you you
definitely been a journey.
you got fired because somebody else was taking credit, or so,
So,
like, the
well,
example we had was the lateness,
yeah.
right? You
Mm-hmm.
keep your mouth shut about the person being late,
Mm-hmm.
so they're thinking that they're doing the work, but you're actually doing the work. Is that the scenario
Yeah. Yeah, that's been the case too, where it's like I'm doing the work or I don't speak up. So I remember, and I talk about this in my book. I was working with this guy, and we were on a team together, and we had stayed up really late the night before working on the presentation and everything. And then he told me that the meeting to present all of this to the client was the next morning at 10 a.m. or something like that. He gave me a time, but he gave me the incorrect time. When I walked in, the meeting was halfway over. So he took credit for the work. We both were there in the office till almost midnight the night before, and he got credit for the work because I showed up late, but it wasn't that I showed up late. I was told the incorrect time. So I've been in
you didn't say
instances
anything?
I did not say anything in that moment. And I always look back to that event and say, Neelu, why wouldn't you speak up? It's because I did not have the tools to speak up. I was like, I don't want to throw him under the bus. There has been an injustice. I don't know what to do about it. And
Wow.
so there's been multiple situations, different, permutations or combinations of things like that. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge for me. And I thought it was just me. And then as I've been, teaching, coaching, I've noticed that there's a lot of women that struggle, a lot of men that struggle, but those of us that come from very collective cultures, we struggle the most with this specific thing about speaking up. Like I remember seeing my mom, my dad is a very dominating, it's a very patriarchal culture. Indian culture is a very patriarchal culture. So my mom would always just do whatever my dad wanted. So that was what the behavior that was modeled to me. My mom never spoke up. Even if she didn't want to do something, she would just go along with it. So I found myself doing the same thing in relationships. If the man I was with said, I want to do this and I want to do something different, I would just be like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. So I don't want to speak up. So it's only now after realizing like, hey, this is something I struggle with. Now I feel more confident to speak up.
And you don't do that anymore?
I mean, there's still times when I'll do that with my partner. He'll say, let's have Thai food. I'm giving you an example. And
Yeah,
say
yeah.
I want pizza. And then I'll say, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll just go along with it. And he can tell, he'll look at my face because he knows that I'm practicing this, right? So he'll look at me and say, do you really want Thai food? I'm like, no, I really want pizza. And then we end up going to pizza, but it's this thing where it's like, we're this back and forth where he's like, do you really want it? Because it doesn't really look like you want it. So I appreciate that. He kind of is my accountability partner in a lot of ways.
That's good.
Yeah. And wait, so your wife is Asian, yes?
Yeah, she's Chinese.
Does she struggle to speak up at all?
Um, not really. Um, she's not as quick to throw hands as I am. You know, uh,
Yeah.
but she does speak her mind, and she
Yeah.
doesn't, but it's the same thing. Like, the food scenario, these are simple ones that, we can, that'll happen to anybody.
Right. Right.
And
But the
she'll
thing is,
say, go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just gonna, I'm sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say, what happens is for those of us that struggle to speak up, it's like we have to practice everywhere. Like how we show up in one situation is how we show up in all situations. So for the people I work with who struggle with this, I said, let's just practice at home, practice with your partner, practice with your children, practice with whoever's around you so that you can flex that muscle so that when you're in a performance review conversation or you're at work, it'll be easier to speak up and say, hey, no, I actually did that piece of the puzzle or what have you.
Yeah. She's pretty good about, like, I'll say I want pizza, and she'll just go, "Ugh." You know, she's like,
Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's my cheat meal. It's my cheat day. I want pizza,
Exactly. Yeah.
But if she doesn't want it, she's like, oh, I'll get something else. Like
Right.
but we both can go either way. Like, honey, you want sushi? And I'm not really digging sushi. I'm like, whatever. Like, it's not the hill I die on. Like, that's that
Yes.
worth, but something would happen at work and somebody will say something and I'm like, oh, I'll pounce. It's like, no, actually, you know, this and that. Oh, okay, Angel, like, I wasn't trying to. It's like, oh, I perceived it like you were trying to throw me under the bus.
Right.
And perhaps I was wrong, and if I am, I apologize, but we need to be clear. Like, I'm very assertive on things like that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's good. So you guys have worked on it. Maybe she didn't struggle with it. I don't know. I just know that, we model the behavior we grow up with, right? So we model
yeah.
it, whether we're aware of it consciously or not, it's just part of us. And so it's like being conscious about when we can work that we and I dial.
Or it's beating into you in the street, like,
Yes.
just from
Yes.
getting jumped, and you realize, like, I don't much like this.
Mhm.
How was the process of putting out a book? Like, were you self-published? Because I've seen you put company names and stuff. So, like, what was the process there?
Yeah, so it was not easy. And so what you do is, you write your manuscript. And I spent many, many times going to a writer's retreat, which actually was really interesting because it's in the Poconos. It's called Highlights. I don't know if you're familiar with Highlights, but it's the children's magazine. And
No.
yeah, and so what happens when we moved to the US, my mom used to use Highlights to teach herself and to teach me English. So when I found out that there is a Highlights retreat center in the Poconos, I messaged them and I told them, hey, I'm not a children's writer or a young adult lit writer, but I would love to come and just like take advantage of your facilities. And they absolutely let me. And so I'd go there multiple times and I'd have a little cabin, I would write. So I finally got my manuscript together, and then I worked really hard to get a literary agent. So I sent out over, I don't know, 150 query letters, found my literary agent, and then the agent then helps you find the publisher. So if you go the traditional route, you must get a literary agent. That's sort of your ticket in the door.
I was going to ask you what they were. So they're the people that connect you to a publisher?
Yes, they connect you to a whole bunch of publishers, and you want to work with someone that's going to be your cheerleader because you are tied to this person for the life of your book. So you want to make sure you really get along with your literary agent. It is so important to get along with that person.
And they connect you to a publisher, and the publisher being the person who puts your book out.
Yes, so they work on everything from getting you on Amazon, putting you in, like, so my book is now available in, I think, 25 or 30 countries, the audiobook. Like, so if you go the self-publishing route, it's harder to have access to all of that. A traditional publisher, you just have a lot more exposure and a lot more support in the process.
How do you get to that point? So like a lot of people don't get picked up, right? Is that a fair statement? Like,
very fair statement, especially if you don't. So one of the things nowadays is that you must have it's very hard to get a publisher if you don't have like 1 million plus followers on social media. Like, they're so concerned with your platform. So if you don't have 1 million plus followers, and I don't, my largest platform is LinkedIn, where I think I'm at like 11,000. So if you don't have like 100 million followers, it's really hard to get a big size publisher involved. So that's where the literary agent comes in. They have to believe in you. They have to believe in your message, and they literally you're literally tied to them for the life of the book. So you want to make sure they're an advocate for you.
So there's like some contractual thing that says, as long as this book exists and it's in circulation, this individual and me are connected.
Correct. And he gets
period.
paid.
Like,
he gets paid first, or the publisher gets paid first, then him, and then me. Yeah.
I had no idea about that portion.
Yeah. So most people don't make money off of books unless you're Michelle Obama or unless you're, you're Oprah. But most people don't make money off of books. It's really to open doors, to get more work, more speaking engagement, more consulting opportunities. I think it's just the publishing world is so competitive. It's not really a money generating thing. It's that you really want to get your message out in the world, and you want more doors to open. That's really what I would say to anyone who's thinking about getting published.
And this is is it the same for like, I don't want to say them because of who they already are, but like a Stephen King or, like somebody who's writing that type of book? Because the nature of your book is a little different than a novel or,
Right. So that's different processes. So mine's nonfiction, fiction is different. And then also back then when all of these other people that are now I mean, social media was not a thing back then, right? So someone took a chance on them, maybe. I don't even know their story. Like, maybe they self-published. Some of them did, but someone took a chance on them, some agent took a chance on them, and then it blew up.
And they make money just because of the sheer volume.
Correct.
So, but the layers are the same, right? The publisher, the literary, and them.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. And then, once you find the agent, then they're going to go through and they're going to edit like crazy. So you need a proposal. So you won't find an agent until you have a very detailed proposal. And it's a lot of analysis on the market, your competition, right? So all of this, it's definitely not for the lighthearted. Like, you really have to be in it for the long haul. I mean, from start to finish, I think it was 5 years. Yeah.
How much of that was actual writing time?
Yeah, I started it, and then I would go to highlights, and then what happened is COVID happened, and COVID threw my business in a whirlwind. So I had time, and that's when I really pressed the accelerator on writing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so it is an accomplishment that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, I noticed that on LinkedIn, the majority of your posts have your book in the background, or on Instagram, same, but not so in TikTok. So it lines up with what you were saying about the way you use them.
Right. So LinkedIn is all about work, right? Professional networking. That's where I get most of my business. So obviously I'm going to post about the work that I do, the people that I serve. And Instagram, I still haven't quite figured out. Like, I know there's people who are so popular on Instagram. I haven't quite figured out what Instagram is actually used for. I mean, I've been on it for years, but I don't quite understand the success formula.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know.
I haven't figured out any. I have a blog that I've had since 2012, and I still haven't figured out the formula. Like, I I don't
So
know.
where does the blog reside? Is it on your website?
Yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
my website is pretty much the blog and the podcast. Everything is NYC Talking. I have friends that started around the same time, and they've been taken over by companies, and
Mm,
like, so what's the but I mean, it's the nature of the work we do. Where mine's is more of like just anecdotal stories, and
right.
these guys are more on certain issues,
Hmm.
niche issues. So I don't know. I have to figure that out, but for now it's just kind of like a hobby. So,
Well,
um,
I think your niche could be body positivity.
yeah, or just the struggle with it,
Right, but
'cause,
the honest, open dialogue that you have with yourself, and I think men don't. I mean, women, we amongst our friends, I think we talk about it a little bit more. I don't know if men openly discuss this.
not really.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I'll talk to my friends about insecurities and stuff,
Mhm.
and they don't reciprocate. You know what I mean? Like they don't.
Right.
It's very, very rare that they'll say, "Yeah, you know what, man? I also struggle with my emotions." That doesn't happen. They just look at me like,
Right.
like, "You bitch,"
Yeah,
I mean, we grew up like you said, like one of the other elements of Latino is being very macho, you know,
exactly. Yeah.
and we're supposed to be tough, and we're not supposed to show. You see it a lot more, I think,
Hmm.
lately than ever
Hmm.
before.
Mm.
I see a lot more men talking and being a little more open about things and showing themselves crying, and like things you never see before. But in terms of experience it in the real world around
Mm.
people, not really. I'm probably one of the more open ones. My son is pretty open, but me and his mom raised him, so you know our values would have been, and he would see how I am, and he tends to be a little bit open with me. He's pretty open with me about everything. He's not like that with everybody.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of my friends are not. They're not down with that. Because we're
Yeah.
supposed to be tough. And my friends ask me, "Why'd you post that, bro? What's wrong with you, dude?" Like, it's
Yeah.
like it's like, well, you know, I'll give you a perfect example, right? And it's a little, I don't know if it's raunchy or whatever, but I don't even know if I want to go there. you know, you know,
You can always edit it out.
but you're just so professional. you
Yeah,
you look so proper and professional.
you can totally edit it out. So you can say
Well,
whatever you want to say.
so like one of the things that we always talked about growing up is like our masculinity.
Hmm.
Um, the parts that define said masculinity, and
Masculinity. Yes,
I'm
yes.
trying to be
Yeah,
um
yeah.
and the way we talk about it and the way we boast about it and stuff, and you know I'm like, I don't got all that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, yo, why am I gonna lie and walk around like I got a certain thing that I don't? Because what's my objective, right? If my
Correct.
objective is to get this woman, right,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I get this woman based off of the premise that I'm, like I got a foot long, right? Well, guess what? She's gonna know
Right.
if you do or you don't, right? So why would you?
Like, yes, we want to enhance how we look or enhance our appearance, but we still ultimately want to be who we are.
Yeah, 'cause, like, at the end of the day, it will be known. You know,
Correct.
I
Correct. But
saw
I
these
think it's
shoes, like these shoes that supposed to make you like 2 inches taller for men.
right.
No, no. Listen, I got no problem with anyone doing
Yeah.
that if you feel good, right?
Yeah.
But if Neelu likes a guy who's 6'1", I'm 5'7", and I'm trying to court Neelu, and I need to wear platform shoes to trick you, you're gonna know I'm not 6'1" at some
Exactly.
point. So
Absolutely.
why? Why? I would rather filter you out,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
and that's that, and I feel the same about everything. So this is why I do some of the things I do. Now, it's not like I'm out here trying to court anyone. I'm married and,
Right.
whatever, but whatever. If you're gonna follow me because of I look like I'm buffed, and me not wearing a shirt shows you that I'm a little soft, then let's be real. This is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I
you-
actually I really appreciated that about your videos and your posts. You are who you are. And I think
well,
that's important.
you know, I'd rather you not like me earlier on
Yeah.
for whatever reason than to, we go on that date, we get home, I take off my platforms, and you're like, what the, you know,
Yeah. It's like, wait, I
what the
didn't
fuck
sign
is
up for
this? You know,
that.
like,
I
dude,
didn't sign up
you
for
know,
5'7".
put them shoes back on, man.
Yeah,
you know, you know,
exactly.
you know, like what I don't understand that, you know. But that's a thing that we even to this day, my friends, boast about, like, oh, but I'm like, no, you don't. you know, no,
So
you don't.
interesting about the pumps and the heels. So I'm only 5'4", but I feel like I am much more confident, much more articulate when I wear heels. So before COVID, when I would be doing a lot of group facilitation or a lot of speaking engagements and I would be on stage, I would always wear really high heels. I just felt like I'm short. It allows me to just feel bigger and taller and, more confident. So I noticed the heels can do that for me. So I know, like, even when I'm facilitating at home via Zoom, I will wear those heels at home even. I just feel like
Mm,
it does something for me mentally. But if you
mm.
ask me to walk the streets of Queens with those heels on, I'm not going to. That's uncomfortable, right? But like it does something to me because I'm 5'4". I feel like it just makes me bigger.
Well, it's the same like wearing a suit for me.
Right, right.
I'll put on a suit and I feel more authority, you know,
Absolutely.
more respect, more, you know, when I wore my military uniform, and I'd walk the street, I walked taller. Like there
Absolutely.
was so I get that, but that's different.
Yeah,
That's different than me wearing those 2-inch shoes to make you think I'm taller so that I can seduce you and then I'm deceiving you. I can
absolutely.
see your pumps, you
Yeah,
know. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I can see
Yeah,
your
yeah.
pumps. Those shoes, you can't see them. They look
Oh,
like they're
okay.
regular shoes.
Oh,
So
all
there's a
right.
clear deception, you
Right,
know.
right.
But I get what you're saying. And I mean, hey, listen, if I could, you ever watch Reacher,
No,
the
what's
show
that?
Reacher? You're familiar with Alan Richardson at all?
Mm-mm.
Um, well, he like a 6'4", 250-pound monster of a man, right?
Mm-mm.
If I could transport myself into this guy's body,
Yeah.
I would totally do it. You know, I would
Hmm.
totally do it, but I can't, and there's nothing I can do about that. So that's
Right.
one of the things that I just accept. You
Yeah.
know, you can't change that. You can change
Yeah.
a lot of things. You can't change some things. So you just embrace them. Um,
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, my website is neelukaur.com, on LinkedIn, Neelu Kaur, Instagram, Neelu Kaur, and my book is on Amazon and every place you can purchase books. My book would be there.
cool. Well, it
Yeah.
has been a great pleasure having you
Thanks,
here.
Angel. This was fun.
Peppa says bye.
Bye, Papa.
Thanks for doing this. All right.
All right, see you later.
All right.
Talk
Take
to you
care.
later. You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.